Hi, and welcome back to Small Caps. My name is Jess Furtick, and I'm delighted to welcome Scott Williamson, who is the Managing Director of Blackstone Minerals. The ASX ticker code is BSX. Hi, Scott. It's great to have you back on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jess.
Now, Scott, it's been quite a while since you were last interviewed on Small Caps. So, just for the benefit of our audience, would you mind providing us with just a brief overview of Blackstone, your projects, where they're located, and possibly even touching a little bit on your background as well?
Yeah, no worries. So we started initially in British Columbia looking for cobalt, and we quickly moved towards nickel as the change in the battery chemistry was moving away from cobalt, and we landed in northern Vietnam. We took that asset. It's the Tarkwa nickel sulfide project from an exploration all the way through to a development story. We drilled 100,000 meters, did all of the study work all the way through to a bankable feasibility study. Unfortunately, the nickel market has turned against us, and so we're now looking at a merger of equals with IDM International to move into the copper gold space in the Philippines. My background is in mining engineering and also capital market. So I started my first half of my career was underground mining, and I've done a bit of block caving, which is interesting because that's a typical mining method for copper gold porphyries. So I worked at Rio Tinto in the underground and then moved into the capital market. So now my experience is a blend of both technical underground mining, but also mining the market, I suppose we could say. So yeah, I learned how to analyze mining stocks as a mining analyst on the sell side in the equity capital markets, and then so I've been in this role nearly 8 years now, and yeah, loving every minute of it. Been some highs and lows along the way, but yeah, really excited about this Mankayan copper gold porphyry in the Philippines.
Yeah, fantastic. Thanks, Scott. Now, you mentioned that merger with IDM International. What strategic advantages are there for Blackstone in terms of that merger, and particularly in developing the copper gold project that you mentioned?
Yeah, so one of the reasons we like this particular opportunity is because we have built a really strong team and an experience around operating in Southeast Asia. So we've operated the Tarkwa Nickel project for over 5 years now. We've built a really strong in-country team. We've got a full suite of engineers and scientists that we can now deploy on the Philippines opportunity. It's also in the same space, so clean energy metals and copper is just as important as nickel. So really excited to use a lot of that work and the great work we've done in Vietnam. Now we've got that opportunity to deploy capital, but also resources and all of that experience that we've gained in Vietnam we can now use in the Philippines.
Yeah, brilliant. Now, you've done quite a bit of exploration already, or there's been quite a bit of exploration done already on the project, the Mankayan project. So, over 56,000 meters of drilling. What are the next sort of steps in terms of exploration over there, and when can investors expect assay results?
Yeah, so this is an interesting opportunity where it's been discovered a long time ago. It's had a number of different owners. So it's had about five different owners over about a 50-year period. Each owner had only enough capital to drill about 10 holes each. And unfortunately, they all missed the cycle. And as juniors, it's all about timing the cycle. So we think we've got the cycle right. We think now's the time to get into copper and gold. We're really excited to hit the ground running with a lot more drilling. So even though it's been well drilled, we think there's a lot more to be discovered. The IDM team have recently done 2,000-meter drill holes with assays pending, and we should see them in the coming weeks. So we've got those coming through. We've got to complete the deal, so there's a bit of paperwork and to get the merger completed. But as soon as that happens in the next couple of months, we want to hit the ground running with some drill rigs and then yeah, continue drilling. We think we can drill another 50,000 meters pretty easily, and we'll continue to find a lot more copper and gold. So really excited about yeah hitting the ground running with some drill rigs, but then also exploring the full potential. The previous owners didn't even do geophysics, for example. So one of the first things we want to do is get our geophysics equipment across from Vietnam and do some systematic exploration and really unlock the geology. We think there's a lot more to be discovered, and we think that the previous owners probably didn't have a lot of the techniques that we've got in with the modern day geophysics.
That's so interesting, Scott. Now, talking about the Philippines, there's been some regulatory and political changes over there in the Philippines. Can you kind of outline for our investors or our audience watching small caps, what are the risks and opportunities, and how is the company sort of managing those?
Yeah, as with a lot of emerging markets, there's been I suppose uh, differences across different political parties. For example, the previous president was almost anti-mining. The current president is pro-mining. So we've got another 3 years with President Marcos in power. We're really excited about the fact that he's really opening up mining. And so Philippines has had a history of attracting significant foreign investment from major mining companies in the past, and we think now is the time where we will see major mining companies re-enter the Philippines because of the current president's pro-mining stance. So yeah, we think now is a great time to be re-entering the Philippines, and I think if it was the previous president, we probably wouldn't have done this deal, but with the current president really incentivizing and pushing mining in the right direction, we think now is the time to re-enter, and we think that we will attract majors into the Philippines.
Yeah, and Scott, obviously you've had that experience with operating in emerging markets with your experience in Vietnam. And as you said, it's so important for companies to time the commodity cycle. Not that we can or that we have control over that, but to be able to pivot. Nickel was in favor, and then, what's happening with your nickel project? Have you still got that? Or what's the plan over?
Yeah, so the plan. Yeah, the plan with the nickel is we're looking for a joint venture partner, and that partner may even be able to free carry us moving forward, which would mean that all the new capital that we deploy could be deployed directly into the Philippines. So continuing to complete our joint venture partnership process, which has been going for about 12 months now. And we're hoping to be able to bring some news around a potential partner on the Vietnam asset. And that could potentially allow us to be free carried all the way through to production, and that will allow us to really focus our efforts on the Philippines, and hopefully we can get the commodity cycle right this time. But yeah, unfortunately, nickel did turn against us. We had a good run in the early years of the nickel run, but you got to get it done quickly. So yeah, hoping we get it right this time.
Yeah, absolutely. And the company's pivoted, and you've timed your gold copper gold merger very well with Mankayan. So now the project, your Mankayan project, is located near Lepanto Gold Mine and also the far southeast project. So with that neurology in mind, are there any sort of potential synergies or collaboration that you can foresee with those projects nearby?
Yeah, so the Lepanto gold mine has been operating for over 100 years, and it's had a long history of successful gold operations. It's currently an operating gold mine. They're producing a small amount of gold per annum, but the real, I suppose, prize there is this far southeast porphyry at depth, with which Goldfields actually paid $230 million for 40% of that project. So that shows you the value that is in these large scale copper gold porphyries at the right time in the cycle. So that project has now been given back to Lepanto. So Lepanto own 100% of Far Southeast plus the Lepanto gold mine. What we're hoping to do is, continue to work closely with Lepanto on all things geology, mining, community relations. I think it makes sense that we work closely together because there's only 2.5 kilometers between the two assets, and it makes sense that eventually they probably become one mine. And when and how that happens, we'll have to see. But it doesn't make sense to build two concentrators. It makes sense to really share underground infrastructure and bring these two world-class copper gold porphyries together. And that's what we think is needed to really attract the major mining companies back into the region as well.
Yeah, fantastic. And you mentioned a little bit of a community engagement piece in terms of collaboration, with operators. in the vicinity. Can you briefly touch on sort of your community engagement and also your sustainability initiatives that you are sort of working on, if any?
Yeah, so the IDM team over the last 2 or 3 years have done an amazing job on the social license, and it's really built based on the work of the previous owner, Bezant Resources, as well. So they've done some great work over the last even up to 10 years now. And the team that worked for Bezant and IDM and now eventually, hopefully, Blackstone, they're a team that have been operating in this region and work building those community relations for over 20 years. So some really strong relationships with the local community. And that really culminated in the memorandum of agreement, or the free, prior and informed consent from the local Indigenous people, which was signed in December just recently last year. So a really major milestone has been achieved by the IDM team, and that's a really big part of the social license, is having that consent from the Indigenous people. So they're on board. There's a mining license has been extended for 25 years. So yeah, really some really good work done by the IDM team on the social license to operate.
Yeah, so good. And such an important piece, that community and piece, a piece particularly when you're looking at mining licenses, exploration licenses, all sorts of things. So that's great to hear. Now, just touching on potential offtake, has the company started sort of looking at who might be potential off-takers? Have there been any sort of discussions, any long-term strategies that Blackstone's been thinking about with this copper gold project?
Yeah, the phones hasn't stopped ringing really. Like, it's unfortunately, as we know, the supply coming for copper is just nowhere near the demand that is needed to electrify the world basically. So it's definitely an in-demand product. We're talking to all the different traders, and there's a lot of interest in the potential concentrate that will come from this opportunity. So yeah, with TCRCs at zero or even negative, it's a very hot commodity. So I think we'll obviously be holding on to that offtake as long as we can, and that was another part of operating in the nickel space. Is we were very reluctant to give away our offtake cheaply, and so any offtake discussions would have to be in line with in significant investment. So so yeah, those conversations will be had at the right time, and most likely we'll be talking to major mining companies and the large trading groups on potential funding and opportunities to collaborate.
Yeah, so interesting, Scott. It's interesting that you mentioned the copper side. I mean, the fundamentals are there for copper, obviously, to electrify the world. I think I read somewhere once that it takes, on average, around 20 to 23 years to bring a copper project from exploration through to production. So, there's a really long lead time. So when you find a good project and you make a discovery, they're so important. And yeah, no doubt off-takers would be knocking on your doors. But also the gold piece as well. We've got gold at all-time highs, so very exciting for lots of investors to watch this space. Now, Scott, I just have one final question for you, and that is just to provide our audience with, 2 or 3 key investment takeaways as to why they should have Blackstone Minerals on their watch list.
Yeah, I suppose firstly, we are going to create some real excitement around the almost rediscovery of this ore body. This is an ore body that was discovered a long time ago, but it wasn't systematically explored the way we were doing that. And we're going to create some real excitement around that discovery phase again. But also, I suppose the other thing that's interesting is a lot of copper gold porphyries don't have the high gold grades that we're seeing in this Mankayan project. So some of the highest gold grades you'll see in any copper gold system globally. So look out for those really high grade gold numbers. They'll be coming through in the drilling. So we're going to hit the ground running with drilling as soon as possible. Plenty of news flow, but also, yeah, that opportunity to potentially collaborate with Lepanto, and we'll see how that plays out as well. So plenty of opportunities potentially on M&A, but also exploration excitement around the rediscovery of the Mankayan copper gold porphyry project.
Thank you so much, Scott. Yeah, plenty of news flow, I'm sure, to come As you mentioned, going to get onto the ground with the drill rigs as soon as you can. But then, of course, you still have that nickel project, plenty of M&A, as you said, opportunities as well. Thank you so much, Scott. It's so great to catch up, and I hope we don't leave it too long for the next one. Hopefully, we get you back on the show to talk about those high-grade gold intercepts that you mentioned we could potentially be drilling. Very exciting.
No worries. Thanks, Jess.